Okay, so someone asked, now that you can click and zoom in, how do you escape out of the zoom? So I'm going to combine that with what I mentioned in the last video about adding a border. And the functionality is actually linked because we're going to make a border appear, make a border disappear with the camera, so we might as well add that in. So what I did is I did just that. I created a PNG, and it's a border image. And there's really nothing magical about the numbers I'm about to put in. I simply positioned it vertically and scaled it slightly vertically because the size was a little bit off. So is that when you click on the cat and you get the zoom camera, that it's lined up inside this border. So like I said, there's nothing really magical about these numbers depending on the image you use. And specifically the ratio, the width to height ratio versus the width to height ratio of the viewport. So let's go ahead and run that. So first of all, we know it's wrong because it's already pairing, but we want that at first so we can line it up. Okay, so that's pretty solid. You now have this nice border showing you that you're zoomed in. And so you've got this nice demarcation between the background and what you're zooming in on. So now what we want is we want this border to appear and disappear in conjunction with the camera. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to our zoom cam. Normally when you have a key press, you do a key code, but we're just going to do a shortcut with this since someone said use the escape key. Well, the escape key is one of the ways you can take a shortcut. So let's take a look at what we did. If input.getKeyDown, quote, escape, quote. So if the escape key is pressed is what this is saying, and get key down, it's important that you use get key down and not just get key, because there's get key down, and get key up. Get key down is the single frame that the key is pressed, or should I say the first frame that the key is pressed down. Get key up is the first frame when the key is released for get key up. But just get key, if you do just get key, that's a rapid fire. We don't want that. So you either want get key down or get key up. So this should look familiar. Get component camera dot enabled false. In other words, you're just doing this all over again. But whereas this happens at the start, this happens because a key has been pressed. However, this variable is still equal to yes, which means that the moment it toggled off, it would toggle back on. So we need to copy this. There's going to be one too many equal signs, though, because when you're setting a value, you only need one. You only need two if you're checking. And we're going to change it to n for now. So that's it's setting it back to its default. So we'll save this. So it's still not going to be right yet because of the frame, but again, we're going to leave this here because we're lining it up. So we click, zooms in, I hit escape, it's gone. Click, escape, perfect. Now what we have to do is synchronize the frame with the camera and we're all set. So let's just create another script and we'll call this frame control. And as always, I'm not saying that this is the best way to do it. I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but I think this is a very obvious way to do it. That way the explanation, the logic, the functionality is apparent. So we go to the border. We put on frame control. We go into frame control. And now we do the same thing that we do with the camera. In the start, it's going to be disabled. So get component. But we're not disabling a camera component because the border doesn't have a camera. But it does have a sprite renderer. And that sprite renderer can also be disabled. So I want to pause here for a moment to kind of go off on a tangent. If you notice, this is really very, very similar. You use the get component statement, you call out a component, you say is it enabled, and you say it's either false or true. You can do this with many, many components. So we've seen it done with the camera component. We've now seen it done with the sprite renderer. But you can do this, say you want to do, you don't want an object to be able to collide with another object because maybe you've put into an invincible mode. So in that case, you do get component and then the box collider or circle collider or orb collider, whatever you're using, and you would enable equals false. So the same kind of thing. Okay, you want this character to be invincible, then you just disable the colliders. Maybe you don't want any animations playing because a character has been frozen or been tripped or stunned. So you could do get component animator enabled equals false. So again, I'm going off on a tangent, but I want you to realize that when you're designing a game, you're going to come across functionality that's really shared and can do very different things. So in this case, we're disabling a sprite renderer. In this case, we're disabling a camera. So the results are very different, but it's a very similar command. Okay, so back to topic. So let's just run this so you can see that working. See, the sprite renderer has been disabled, so it's not there. We click, it's still not there because we haven't re-enabled it. So now, again, we're just repeating this functionality. So just as we repeated this idea, we're repeating this idea. So we're going to copy this. And we're going to replace one with the other. And I don't mean to be going through this quick. I really want to impress upon you that it's really a very similar idea, that you're just disabling a component. So we'll save that. Okay, we saved it. So now when this is set to Y, then we want this to be true instead of false. And we need this to become disabled again when the camera, when the escape key is pressed. So what we have to do is we have to repeat this functionality. So if the escape key is pressed, again, it's the sprite renderer instead of the camera. And that should also be set to no. That should do it. And then I think we're done. So let's run it. So no border. I click. There's our zoom and our border. I hit escape. They both go away. Click. They both come back. Escape. They both go away. That easy. So again, I know I went through it kind of quick, but we really didn't introduce any new ideas. It's, again, just disabling a component. Really, all we did is we added checking a key press is really all we added. So that should about do it. If you have any more questions, just let me know. And that's it for now.